Welcome to NGS, where we dive into my hobbies, such as a dirty mat. Hold on. Did what I could. Such as playing cards. Today, I'm going to go over the most common card handling moves, like the basics that everybody should know who's getting into card handling and card collecting. This all perspired from a comment from Yondo, this guy right here. He left a comment asking if, I could show how some of the basics of card handling and the stuff that I do in my video that are basically default and generic, such as the fan or the dribble, and then some other ones like the swing cut. But I'm not really good at teaching techniques, so I'll do my best in this video. But to mitigate a lot of the problems, I also asked B-DoN the Magician to help me, and he was more than happy to be involved in this video. So we'll be going back and forth talking about the things that we should do. So I figured that the best way to construct a video over this would be to show you the steps in which me and B-DoN go through when opening a brand new deck of cards. We're going to start from getting a deck of cards, opening them, and work our way up in card handling, usually from that point. So that's how this video is going to be constructed. And if you're curious, I'll be using the Ellusionist X Views playing card deck right here as my, catalyst for this. But anyway, take it away, B-DoN.
Hello and welcome to Card Handling 101. For those of you who don't know me, I am B-DoN the Magician, and I will be helping NGS with the teaching. So let's get it started. So one of the first things we'll be going over is how to properly open a deck of cards. Now I chose this one because it's unopened, of course, and it has a wonderful red tab here that you can see quite easily. This is a tally-ho deck, and I think NGS needs to review these puppies because they're really nice. Look at that. Thin crushed stock. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get right into it. So the first step is sometimes the most painful. Opening the seal. So if you go to the back side of the deck, on your right front corner here, there should be a little tab, a little bit hard to see, but it's right here. And if you stick your nail in, you can kind of release that tab somewhat. Now, once you get that little tab here released, you can then just pull straight most of the time. Pull straight, pull straight. Now, if you're anything like me, you like to keep your cellophane. So just pull off the top piece here. And you can use your cellophane to kind of keep your box in good condition if you'd like to. Or you can remove it entirely, that's up to you. Now, let's go to the favorite part of NGS, and that'll be the seal. Now, some people just stick their hands in here and rip the seal to shreds. Sometimes they cut them straight here, which leaves a sticky residue that sometimes can get on the cards and the flap here. Now I have a particular way that I like to open these, and what I like to do is use those horrible ad cards that come in every single deck of cards, just about, especially Theory 11 and a bicycle. And what you're going to do is here is going to take the ad card, slip it in, right, and you're going to start making a little cutting motion. And as you start making that slight little cutting motion, you'll see you'll get into it. As you go, you want to go about halfway, and you want to keep it a little bit towards the end here, right? Because what we're going to do is cut a perfect circle to where the box is actually located, right? And kind of cut into it. And so you might have to flip the card around if it starts getting a little bit damaged, and kind of move to the other side. And what we want to do is create a perfect little opening here, kind of go back and forth. And now as I press down here, now it doesn't even look like I've opened that seal. You have the image perfectly in line here. Open your flap up here, press down, that way that sticker is down perfectly. And as you can see here, we have a perfectly opened seal. And as you close the box back, you can still see the sealed image perfectly. And that right there is how you perfectly open a deck of cards.
So after you open a deck and pull out a new deck of cards, it's not out of the ordinary to immediately fan the deck. I mean, you've seen me do it in countless videos of mine. So I'll go through the process of fanning a deck. You're gonna turn your hand into like a taco, right? Like you're holding a taco. And that is where you're gonna really want your deck to be. Now, the fan size completely depends on where this thumb is on the deck. Meaning if you're all the way out here, you're going to have yourself a pretty big fan. To the point that if you have it like right here, you're gonna get a very small fan. So you're gonna take your hand, put in a taco, and that's kind of the grip you're gonna have with the deck here. Now with this in your hand and you're holding it in the right position, putting pressure mainly on the point of your thumb, because this right here is going to be the pivot area that the cards will circumvent around. With this grip, you're going to take your other hand. You can use your index finger or your thumb, whichever one becomes easiest to you. I like to use my index finger. And with that finger, you're going to basically push the deck. And as you push, your finger is going to rise up along the edge of the deck. And what that is doing is making the shape of the fan. You don't want to rise your finger up too quick, or you'll probably, it's hard to mess up a fan when I'm trying to mess up a fan. The higher and faster you go with the fan, the more janky it looks. Or the slower you go, the more janky it looks. You're not trying to pull the entire deck around. And I like to think of it more as my fingers doing one of these motions, like going up. So as I am doing the fan, my finger is going up with it. The more you do it, the more natural it will become to you. So one last time, taco, deck, thumb point usually as far out as you can get it. And from here, index finger, top left corner, bring them around town. But you're gonna wanna do a better fan than that. Like that.
Okay, so one of the first things we need to go over, of course, will be how to actually hold a deck of cards. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds kind of dumb, right? Well, I mean, everybody knows how to hold a deck of cards. Well, yes and no. There are a few variations on how to hold a deck and very specific reasons on why to hold them a certain way. And these things, if you are in the pursuit of magic, will help you out tremendously learning them the right way the first time. So let's go over this. How to hold the deck. This here is called Mechanics Grip. Sometimes it's called dealing position, as you would deal cards like this. Or Mechanics Grip is another name for it. So you're going to have your index finger up here towards the top, not the side here like this. That's going to be a whole nother thing. And you want your pinky here to the side, your ring in middle here at the middle of the deck, and your thumb right up here. And you can go to a lot of different positions in Magic with this Mechanics Grip. So let's move on to the second way to hold the deck. Now, the second way to hold a deck is going to be called end grip. And actually does not use your left hand. It actually uses your right hand. So you're going to grip it here with your ring finger and your middle finger at the ends here, and your thumb here at the right bottom, just like so. And this is called end grip. And there are a lot of things that you're going to be learning here that will be in this position. Also, this is very similar to a position that you would use for an overhand shuffle, which we'll get into that a little bit later.
I'm now going to show you the spreading technique, which is what you see me do in most of my videos, where I basically run the cards across the mat and they make this line with mostly equal distances and gaps between each card. That is called spreading the deck. Now, with spreading the deck, really all you need is one hand for this job. The other hand is just to square the deck and pass the deck over. Now, whenever I tell you how to fan, you're going to do the exact same motion that I showed you here, but on a mat. Spreading the deck can really be done on any surface as long as it's not too smooth, because if it's too smooth, you're just going to drag the cards across. And you also want it to be more of like a velvet, like a playing card mat, or usually if you don't have a playing card mat, it is pretty similar to a mouse pad. So this is going to be the grip that you will hold it in. You will have 2 fingers on top. You can do the third one if you want, but I recommend 2 on top and the thumb on the bottom. And you're going to hold onto the entire deck. And the idea is with this finger, as you are sliding across the pad, you're going to be lifting this up. In a sense, doing that same motion that I was talking about when doing a fan, where you kind of like pivot the thumb upwards, like you're pointing from the ground up. And you will be pushing the deck into the mat as you go, and the mat will do most of the work. The mat will catch the cards and hold them normally uniformly, considering all of these cards have the exact same amount of slipperiness and friction. So unless you have a card that is bent or a card that is ruined, you should be able to get pretty close to a uniform line. Again, 2 fingers, 1 on the far left of it. Make sure your pinky's not in the way. Put it onto the table and just slide. As you are going, you are just letting your fingers fall onto the pad as you are losing cards, and keep pushing a consistent pressure all the way through. As you practice that, you begin to learn that you can actually decide the distance between the cards by that pressure. If you're wanting to do something small, you can do that. If you're wanting to do something that's longer, you can also control that as well. You can control that depending on the pressure you put on with your finger and also the speed in which you are dragging the deck. Now, the fun thing about a spread is it can be done in multiple directions. You can also do it horizontally, like that. Or my favorite, you can do it diagonally, which gives you a view of both the top of the card and the side of the card. And just for funsies, after you do a spread, if you go to the end of it, grab that card and just domino them, they will all fall. Now if you include that with the diagonal one, which is my favorite, it gives this pretty cool effect. And then you catch it with the other hand and scoop them up. And you've seen me do that in probably all my videos. Oh. What am I doing here? Is that what you just asked me?
All right, let's learn how to dribble the deck. You're going to start off in end grip with your ring finger and middle finger here, except your thumb is going to slide over to the left side, and you're basically going to be holding the deck with your ring finger and your thumb here, and your index finger is going to be putting a little bit of pressure onto the deck like this as your thumb starts to pull back. And what this is going to cause is for the cards to riffle out just like this, right? So that's the first step. Just learn how to riffle the cards just like that. And all you're doing is pulling back slightly with your thumb while applying pressure with the index finger and holding the rest of the cards with these other 2 fingers here. Just like that. And once you learn how to riffle the cards off like that, you can then apply a little bit more pressure and allow the cards to drop into the other hand. And they're going to be dropping from the thumb first, and then dropping from your other 2 fingers here, just like so. And once you get out of the way of them, you can drop them straight down. And this is the dribble. Okay, so the next thing I would like to teach is the one-handed cut. My preferred one-handed cut that is a go-to for me is going to be the Charlier cut. So this is how you do the Charlier cut. What you're going to want to do is get this into your mechanics grip. And once you're in mechanics grip, it's very simple because all you're going to do is drop down the pinky to the right bottom corner, index finger up here. And you kind of just want to control the deck between those 2 fingers, right? So this is what we got going on here. I'm controlling the deck between those 2 fingers. Once you're at this point, your other 2 middle fingers will line up here in the middle. And once you have that nice little control, you are in perfect position. Now, you don't want this to be deep in your hand like this, right? Because you're going to have space for the cut. So you want these up here towards the tops of the fingers. That way you have lots of space here in the bottom. So this is how it's going to work. You're going to take your thumb and you're then going to separate a portion of the deck. Now, to make it easier for yourself, you can separate a larger portion or smaller portion, but I'm going to start with exact middle. Okay, so let's say we push up here, and what you can do is let the rest of the deck kind of just fall here to the wayside. You're then going to take your index finger, right? Let's see if I can get a good angle here. And with the index finger, you're going to come around the side, push up like this. Okay, so once again, from a different angle, you're going to drop down that packet here into your lower part of your hand. Take your index finger, push up. Then you're going to allow everything else to drop. So as you push this forward, it's going to drop down onto that index finger. Once everything has dropped down to the index finger, you kind of just remove the index finger out of the equation like this. Everything will drop. And then the rest is pretty simple. You just allow everything to drop on top. So in quick succession, this is how it would look. Just like that. So we're going to try that again slow. So we get it up in our position, making sure that we have plenty of room here in the middle. We push up in the thumb. Take our index finger, push up here, let everything drop onto the index, everything drop down, okay? One more time, drop, index finger goes up, let everything drop, back on top. And that is how you do the one-handed cut.
B-DoN taught you how to do the one-handed cut, right? That was terrible. Now that you understand the basics of the one-handed cut, which I did sloppily there, this is a hard angle, I'm going to show you the one that I like. This is a separate one-handed cut that can be done and also be equally as effective. The only difference is you don't go from a mechanics grip to it, so it's harder to get into position. So this is the, I don't really know the name of this one. I learned this a while ago, but the idea is you want to basically frame the entire deck between these four fingers. You're going to want the middle finger on the top, the pointer finger on the right side, the ring finger on the left side, and the thumb on the bottom. The thumb and this finger right here are going to be doing pretty much all of the work up until the cut is complete. Now in this position where you have a giant gap between the deck and your hand, you're going to take the thumb, you're going to go into the center of the deck like that, just cut right into it. Then you're going to swing it over, and you're going to catch that top packet of cards. And this is what I mean by the thumb and the pointer finger doing all the work here. You are then going to drop this finger and pivot the packet against the pointer finger with the thumb, like that. Then you're going to let this packet fall forward onto these three fingers, and with the thumb and pointer, you're just going to slide the deck underneath it, like that. And then the rest of the hand takes the squaring the deck part out. In practice, it will look like this, which I think is another cool way to cut the deck with one hand. And it's also fun to know because a lot of people do tend to go to this cut right here off of instinct, and if you ask them, hey, can you cut it a different way with one hand, they probably won't know, and then you can impress them by doing your one-handed pivot cut. That's what I'm calling it. I don't think that's what it's called, but that's what I'm dubbing it now. While we are on the topic of one-handed things to do, I'm going to show you how to do a fan with one hand also. Normally done in flourishes or to color change. That's what I usually use it to do, is to color change a card, use it as the cover for the trick. Now remember, this can be done with the whole deck, but I highly recommend you do it with just a packet or half the deck. And that right there is the one-handed fan. And that's what you would use to do a color change. Like that. And you can do it with usually both hands. Very sloppy because of this angle. But yeah, so you're going to want to break a whole packet off. And this is what you will be focusing on. Usually the other packet will be in your hand, so you'll have to learn how to get into this position with one hand. So the position is going to be this move right here. I don't know what you want to call that, T-Rex hand. You're going to have these fingers on the bottom, and they're designed to clamp the bottom of the deck. Now again, the fan size completely depends on where your thumb lands on the bottom of the cards. The further out you go, the bigger the fan. The closer in you go, the smaller the fan. So you want to go as far out as you can, and all you're doing is moving this finger that way, and at the same time with these fingers going the opposite direction. The bottom ones will be holding the bottom card, and your thumb will be holding the top card. And the deck will naturally fan itself with that going on. And you can do like cool stuff here. Hold cards with this. Have the spectator put the card back in with this move. And I mean, the options are limitless with it. So again, you're going to want to grab it, squeeze it, clamp it, and move your thumb and fingers away from each other, squeezing the deck, and the cards will naturally fan like that.
So when it comes to basic card handling, the list would not be complete without learning how to cut the cards. Now I'm sure most of you know how to take packets of cards and cut them here to the table like so. But I find it more useful, especially as a magician, to learn how to cut the cards within the hands. And one of my favorite ways of doing that is called the swing cut. And it goes just like this. So let's take a look at that a little bit slower and in more detail. You're going to want to grab the deck the same way that you would if you were doing an overhand shuffle. Thumb at the bottom, ring and middle finger here at the top. And what I'm doing here is I'm lifting up a small packet of cards here with the index finger. I then swing those over like so. And you're going to want to lift up your middle finger and just hold this with your ring finger and thumb. So you lift up here, swing this over, and then your thumb is going to come over and pinch it in the hand like so. And just let that rest there. So we're going to do another one here. Grab a packet, swing it on over, grab it with the base of the thumb right here, packet over, grab it with the base of the thumb, pinch it, slide the rest out. And once you get a small enough packet, throw everything else on top. And that is the swing cut. Okay, so next I'll be teaching you the Overhand Shuffle, which is a very valuable shuffle in Magic, and I think it's very common amongst people to do the Overhand Shuffle. So let's go over that. What you're going to want to do is take the deck and you're going to place it in this position here, okay? And as you have it in this position here with your two middle fingers on the top and your thumb at the bottom here, a little bit towards the right side as I prefer. And all you're going to do is start peeling off cards like so, right? And as you're peeling off cards, you're kind of bringing them back here to the middle of the deck and just peeling chunks of cards off. Of course, you can peel off singles if you'd like to, or you can peel off chunks. And once you get that motion down, that is exactly the Overhand Shuffle. And when you're done, just throw the rest on top. So once again, you see how I'm gathering a chunk of cards, gets thrown into the hand. You return them to the middle portion. Grab a little bit of chunk, right? You don't want to start this off a little bit slow so you got the hang of it, and eventually you will be able to shuffle these cards like this without a problem, okay? And that's the basics of the Overhand Shuffle. Now there is a notable mention type of thing that I will go ahead and throw in here. There's a lot of things that can be done with the Overhand Shuffle. One of the things that I personally like to do with it is control cards. So let's say, for example, if you have this card on top, the 7 of clubs, you can use that Overhand Shuffle to control that card. So as you go to keep shuffling the cards, what I'm doing is I am literally controlling that card right back to the top using the Overhand Shuffle. So how's this done? Well, you're going to peel off one single card, drop it down, chunk, 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 all the way through until you now control that card to the bottom. Once you have that card that's controlled to the bottom, you're then going to keep going with chunks And once you start getting really close to the bottom, you're going to start dealing off singles here. See, I'm just peeling off single cards until we get to that last card. And there you'll have the card control to the top. And that's something you can do with the Overhand Shuffle.
Now I'm going to show you how to do the Hindu Shuffle. Now the Hindu Shuffle is very powerful for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons, and I think the main reason being, is it's a way to force a card. And in order for you to use that kind of force, you have to continue to use the Hindu Shuffle in your routine so people think it's a natural shuffle. And here's how it works. So you're going to use what I call the Lego hand grip, and you're going to grab this part of the deck with one thumb being on this side and the other fingers being on this side. Now what's going to happen is all the work will be done with this hand. This hand's motion is only going in and out, like swiping a credit card. Your hand, while the card is being swiped in or the playing cards are being pushed forward, you're going to grab the top packet, as ever many as you want, and you're going to grasp it, firmly grasp it, and let your hand pull away while pulling out the rest of the cards. As you pull the deck back this way, you're going to just drop the deck into your hand like that. And then you come back, and it's basically you keep repeating. You grab, drop, grab, drop, grab, drop, so on and so forth, and then you start getting fast at it. And it could be done in both ways, where this does the work, or you can do it where this hand does all the pulling. But the Hindu Shuffle is primarily used for a specific force, where I'll start doing this, I'll tell you to tell me stop, you say stop, and then I tell you that this is the card you landed on. But I already knew it was the 4 of spades, because that's how this game works. So if I were to do it again, say, hey, tell me stop, and you say stop right here, well, you landed on the 4 of spades again. Used for a force, but it is an actual shuffle technique that you can do. Remembering to use this finger to catch the deck and keep it from falling forward, and then these fingers to grab a deck, or to grab a packet of the deck and drop it into the hand. And then to finish it off, when you get to the end, you just slap the rest of it on top, like that.
Okay, so this next one can be slightly difficult. This is the Riffle Shuffle, and the Riffle Shuffle with a bridge. Now let's take a look at this. So you're going to be pretty much in the same position as the Overhand Shuffle, except you're going to have faces upward instead of faces downward. So you're going to be in that position like you're going to do a Overhand Shuffle, right? Except you're just going to hold that position. And what I like to do is start by riffling off some cards just like that. That's the first step. Learn how to riffle cards off. And you're going to want to riffle about half. So let's say you riffle half of these cards and you flip them in your hands like this. So now your 2 middle fingers on both ends are matching here, your 2 thumbs are matching here, and you have your index fingers and your pinkies holding here on the side so that everything is nice and square. And what you're going to do is you're going to take these your hands, and you're going to then place your index finger here, giving slight pressure, and you're going to riffle off the cards just like so, right? At this point, you could just push in the cards, right? Just like this. Or you can do what's known as a bridge. So let's go over it again, right? Take the cards, interweave them with the riffle. Then the bridge is you push your thumbs here and push everything inward, and that is the bridge. Now, I'm probably going to have to throw in a slow motion shot there of the bridge so you can actually see what's happening, because it's actually very important. Okay, so let's start again. Everything is in this position as if I was going to do an overhand shuffle, right? You have the 2 middle fingers here in the middle. You have your pinky and your index here on the sides, and your thumb here at the top. So riffle over about half the deck, flip this whole packet over like this. So now you're mirroring the positions here. middle fingers in the middle bottom, index fingers on the side, pinkies on the side. And then what we're doing is you can riffle towards the corner if you'd like, but eventually once you get good enough, you'll be able to do it a little bit more towards the middle here. Index fingers applying pressure here. And I like to grab up with the whole thing here once you're in this position. Very important. And then we riffle, making sure to keep a nice pressure on these cards, right? Once you keep that, you interweave them about, I'd say, a quarter way in, right? And then you bend them in, and the rest kind of happens by itself. So let's go over that one more time, because I know there is actually a lot to take in here. Okay, so we are going to grab the cards here in this position, same as the overhand shuffle. We are going to riffle off about half, flip that whole packet over, mirror the positions, right? We are going to then, once we have it square, take our index, put them in this position. We're going to end up grabbing everything like this, right? So we go from here to grabbing everything as we're setting up for the riffle. We're applying pressure with the index, riffle everything down. Make sure to keep that pressure applied. Push in about a quarter of the way. Give pressure with the thumbs and let in with the rest of the fingers here. And as you're letting in with these fingers here, you just let go and they riffle all together. And I think I'm gonna do a nice slow motion shot for you to see exactly how that works.
Alright, well, now that we've gone through most of the shuffles, I think it's time to talk about my favorite shuffle. And I'm sure it's a lot of people's favorite shuffle, and something that a lot of y'all are wanting to see in this video. This is called the Faro Shuffle. If done correctly, you will be able to completely intertwine every other card from each stack into one deck. If done correctly. I still have issues with it, but it is possible. People can do it with practice and with a lot of time. It can be done. This is going to be a tough one for me to teach, but here we go. Okay, you're going to want to split the deck. With time, you will begin to learn exactly what half and half is just by looking at it and the feel. Now that you have your two packets, this is going to be the grip you want with your fingers. You're going to want your pinky on the bottom, two middle fingers on the right side of the deck, your thumb on the left side of the deck, and you're going to want your pointer finger putting pressure into the deck right here on the back side or front side. We'll get to that in a little bit. And then with this hand, you have three fingers on the left side, your thumb on the right, and your pointer finger on the top. You want to keep the bottom clear for the Faro Shuffle. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take these two packets, make sure that they are as compressed together as they can be, and you are going to put them against each other. You can use the cards to square them up if you need to, like this. You're going to put the two together right here. And you're going to be putting pressure like this. You're going to be pushing down and out, doing this kind of motion right here. And what you will begin to notice as you push into it is the deck will begin to naturally fall into itself like this. Now, because I'm going slow and trying to demonstrate, I have missed a few cards here and here and here. But this is the basic and general idea of a Faro Shuffle. And then from here, you do the bridge that you learned with B-DoN. Now, direction of the pressure does matter. When playing cards are produced, they're made into an uncut sheet. I have one for the Gold Arcane deck. I'll put a picture right here of it. It's just one long piece of, playing card air cushion cardstock paper, and everything is printed into it, every individual card. And then as it goes through the production line, a giant blade comes down and cuts the deck into its, individual cards. So if it's getting cut face down, then if you were to take like a microscope and look at the edges of the deck, you will see that the tips have a bevel, kind of like they're being pushed downward. Which means that when you try and Faro a deck, these hooks are what causes the Faro. those hooks will slide under each other and push each other up. Which is why, if you have, say for example, the other way that cards are cut, which is face up, the bevel is facing the other direction. Which means if you try and take a card like this and faro it the other way and put pressure against it like this, they're not going to slide into each other because they're sliding against each other. And those two ways that the cards are cut is called a traditional cut and a non-traditional cut. Traditional being the way they used to do it back in the day, which I think is face up. Now they do it face down, which is the untraditional way. But if you do have a deck that you play with for a while and break it in, you can Faro Shuffle it either way with time. This deck in particular, I'm not sure because I can actually Faro Shuffle it both ways. How you can tell if it's traditional cut is you are able to Faro it from the face cards up. So if you do this and put the pressure on it and it Faros that way, then it's a traditional cut. Untraditional cut means that the backs down is going to be the easiest way to do it. And I think this one is actually an untraditional cut. So I'll show you again in that way. So again, 2, 1, thumb, 3, thumb, keeping this top clear and this bottom clear, being these are the parts that will make contact. They make contact and you give it that pressure like this. And just like that, you should be able to get every other card with practice. And the idea behind a Faro Shuffle is if you can do a Faro Shuffle, it can open the door to a lot of other things you can do. You can do like for example, if you do the right amount of Faro Shuffles, you can put any card that is on the top into any position of the deck depending on how many Faro Shuffles you do. There's a lot of math involved with that and it can be done. But I promise you, once you start doing Faro Shuffles, you're going to get addicted and you'll be doing this all the time. Alright, so with that being said, we have showed you the basics to card handling, or at least what we consider are the basics to card handling. There is so much more that you can learn to do with a deck. And a lot of the stuff that you try and learn after you learn the basics of card handling kind of all fall in the same genre of card handling, just card manipulation at that point. But all of this takes practice, and a lot of practice. So as you buy new decks that you're collecting and as you are playing with them, practice all of these moves till you have it down to a science. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that presentation, and I cannot wait to see you right back in the next video.
You're dealing with the ghost. We are spitting facts, so don't mistake it with a boast. Looking for a lethal injection, we got the dose. We are giving the chills from your head down to your toes. You're trying to touch us, but you're dealing with the ghost.